here at the eMetrics Marketing Optimization Summit, New York. I'm Daniel Weisberg. I'm here with Shaina Boone. She's a VP Marketing Science at Critical Mass.
That's right.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Shaina, would you share with us a little bit about Critical Mass and your role in the organization?
Sure. So Critical Mass is a large advertising agency, or I guess mid-sized. We have about 700 people. We're a Calgary-based organization. We have offices in Calgary, Toronto of Canada, North America, Chicago, New York, LA, and we have a London office as well, and a very large presence in Nashville for our Nissan clients. Mm-hmm. We work on accounts and large Fortune 100 clients like Nissan, Infinity, Best Buy, AT&T, Citibank, Humana are some of our largest accounts and largest clients. We are part of the holding companies, Omnicom, but we're only half owned by the holding company, so we have some ownership over what we do still. And then we're about a $100 million company, so to give you an idea on size and scope. Our measurement accounts, we have measurement across 27 different accounts, and we have a marketing science team of 27 people. So it's not big enough for the other 700 people that we have there, but it's growing, and we generally hire 7 to 10 marketing science people a year.
What is marketing science?
Marketing science is the science of marketing, or the measurement of marketing. It's a term that actually comes from the university world, where the PhDs and statisticians are off running Monte Carlo engines and proving that TV actually really does work. That's the science side of it. So we do a little bit more marketing than we do science, but we actually partner up with the Wharton School of Business. Yeah. And do some more heavier studies with them, or they help us out doing heavier studies. So marketing science is, as we said, heavier on the marketing side for us. Okay,
so as you've been there for a few years, right?
5 years.
5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what tips could you give people? I mean, web analytics is in my opinion, is always about giving consultancy, mm-hmm. either to internal teams or external teams.
Right.
So what tip can you give to people like trying to push their agenda?
Push the agenda? Well, first off, if you are an analyst within an organization that doesn't have a well-established analytics department, when I started at Critical Mass, we had an analytics department that was part of the planning department. And I took the Web Analytics Association, University of British Columbia classes to get the certificate. That was how just a quick, brief history. I was a programmer for 7 years, and then I moved into analytics. So I started doing analytics 8 years ago now, I guess. And through taking those classes, I learned about the need to build the culture of measurement before you can really get something done with it. And what you often find is if you're a lone analyst inside of a client side, you may not have an organizational structure that supports analytics yet. If you're an analyst at an agency, you may have a client who doesn't have that culture yet. So in an effort for you to be effective, you need to not just understand how to collect data and all the technical side of analytics, and you need to be not just a good analyst, being able to analyze the data, or a good strategist, being able to decide what to measure, but you also need to know how to persuade people to use everything. And that's the biggest challenge, is changing the culture of an organization. And the best thing you can do is to find an executive sponsor. Whether you're on the client side or you're on the agency side, you need that senior talent, you need that senior person, that CEO, the COO, whomever they are, the GM, you need to persuade them and convince them of your agenda, why measurement's important, and start at the top and work your way down. Working from the bottom up just doesn't work, and the UBC courses say that in that 4th course, and it's true. I have now worked on over 27 different major accounts, and the ones that don't have a measurement culture, if you can't get up to the top, it's just it's going to take you that much longer to get there. Sometimes you can't go directly to the top. That's just not an option for certain people, but you can at least go at least a couple levels above you and start to find somebody who's interested in it. And that seems to be the real way of doing it. In some cases, if there isn't somebody in charge who finds measurement important, you should still be aware that at any point in time they could be replaced with someone else. They could leave, they could be fired, whatever it may be. And the new person who comes in may be a measurement-based person. And then if you haven't prepared for that, you would be in big trouble. We've seen that with a couple clients. Rolex, for example, their CEO was fired and they brought in a guy who was a former CFO. And the first thing he said was, "Where's all the measurement? What's going on here?" And that's because the former guy didn't think it was important. So the lessons learned are, find your executive sponsor, or at least somebody further up the chain. Start talking to people. You have to be an evangelist. Measurement can't go anywhere without somebody first evangelizing it. There's a need. There's a reason we have Avinash and Eric Peterson and everyone, because first you have to get people to buy in. You wouldn't think that. You would think that it's, obvious that you need it, but you really do need to get people to buy in. So finding that evangelist, being an evangelist, finding that executive sponsor, and then also preparing when you don't have it. Don't just give up. You have to at least be prepared in case when that time does come and they change, you're ready to go, and that you don't look like you're behind.
That's interesting. And you mentioned your background in development, and also how analysts should know statistics and marketing. What's one tip you could give someone getting into the field? I mean, what should this person know in order to be a good web analyst?
5 years ago, I would have given you a different answer, which was you just have to be fairly curious and smart, and you'll figure it all out. But these days, the competition is growing. There are a lot more people who actually know how to do analytics now. So you need to have some basic skills and chops. Obviously, we've divided into 3 groups: strategy, technology, and analysis. And we like to have people good in at least 2 of them, naturally good in 2 of them of the 3, and you can usually learn the 3rd. If you're really good at one of them, for working at our agency, it's not enough generally, because you have to do all 3 all the time. Mostly what we find is the technical part is learned, but it takes time to learn the technical part. It takes years, it takes doing it wrong, it takes losing data, it takes all these things to really learn the technical side. The strategic side is easier to learn from just reading marketing books and whatnot if you don't have a marketing degree. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts. I don't even have a MBA. I don't have a statistics background. I didn't take any math in college, and it doesn't matter because I could teach myself along the way on the job. And then being a really good analyst naturally. If you're naturally better with tech versus analysis, there can be 2 different paths for you depending on where you work. The people who maybe had a computer science degree sometimes excel in the tech side, whereas someone who had a marketing degree may excel in the analysis side. And we force both teams, people who are good at both, to cross over and try and get better at the other one, but naturally maybe one comes more strongly than the other. So as you work, you will have the opportunity to work on larger accounts if you're well-rounded on all 3, but if you're more narrowly focused, you're going to get sort of kind of pigeonholed into some places. So it's really up to you what you want to do with your career. For people who want to go into management, they need to be good in all 3 of those things. And the reason they need to be good in the technical side is because they need to know how to write estimates for the work. And if you don't know how to build something, then you're never going to know how to estimate it. But people who just want to be a senior analyst, dig through the weeds, they don't need to have as much tech, and they don't need to work on it quite as long if they're not as interested in going up the management scale. So in terms of if you're trying to switch your career, which is what I did, although obviously I was in the internet industry already and I understood how to build websites and that sort of stuff, I would say learn how to build a website or learn the foundations of it. Learn the foundations of data collection. Take the UBC courses. They're really good if you're switching careers and it's all brand new. And the UC Irvine courses. And then take some basic marketing courses. And statistics if you didn't have it. I still haven't taken statistics. So that's my weak spot. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Okay, and on the other side, I mean, if you have to give one tip to a CEO or CMO on building a data-driven culture, what would you say?
What would I say? I would say, well, it all comes from them, so it's up to them. So first off, they have to believe in it themselves. If they aren't naturally interested in data and being data-driven, they're going to struggle with creating a data-driven organization. So they have to find some way to believe in it, because if they're going to ultimately be measured on it, they need to believe in it. So that's one. Two would be look at the, let's say you were a new CEO somewhere and you come in and you're brand new and you see how this organization that you're now in charge of has been running. If it was like a research-based culture versus accountability-driven culture versus an advertising culture, you have to really assess what the company is like overall and how it's been running, because even though you're in charge, it's still going to take a while to change unless you fire everybody and hire a whole new staff. So if it's a culture of advertising, it's going to take you a lot longer to get to a data-driven culture, because they're kind of, the mass advertisers really don't have a lot of accountability. If it's and we see that with like some of our beer clients. Whereas if you had like a real accountability-driven culture, like Eric Marks mentioned in our presentation, Hoshin Connery, is the company is already very efficiently running, and they're looking at metrics and looking at numbers. And in that case, you just need to keep adding more onto it. If it's a research-based culture like a CPG, you would say, okay, people are interested in measurement here, but they don't put enough money into it to really support it. So you'd have to start looking at your different budgets and deciding where you want to put your money, and if you want to start beefing up your data-driven culture. And then finally, you need to hold people accountable, and the best way to do that is to make some of their compensation based on the performance. And that's what cultures of accountability really are. And if you're the CEO, you totally have that decision to do that. So at Nissan, their bonuses and part of their salary is based on hitting the targets that they set. So that's the easiest way. You have to be careful, because sometimes you can become too much driven by the numbers, and people, it's too much for some people. But that's really the best way to go about it.
It's great. Thank you very much, Shaina.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.